all the time when he worked at the data center. He didn't ship for the
Well, I don't know. I didn't know because I was in the front. But he never
When he had that job, I also did. He had to
over my dead body. Let's make a new song. Roll call.
Chandarana? Here. DeFilippis? Here. Duchette?
Here.
Sitzman?
Here.
Rudolph? Frazier? And Martin.
Here. If we could all stand for the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, 33C community. The school board is aware of the questions currently circulating throughout former 33C, as well as many neighboring school districts regarding masks, vaccination updates, mandates, and curriculum issues surrounding critical race theory and SB 0818. On May 19, 2021, the Illinois State Board of Education unanimously adopted a resolution supporting in-person learning. Beginning with the 2021-2022 school year, all schools must resume fully in-person learning for all student attendance days. At this time, masks are still required for this upcoming return to school. The district will continue to follow all mandates from the Illinois State Board of Education as they relate to COVID-19 safety and protocols. Regarding curricular issues, the Illinois State Learning Standards do not overtly include the teaching of critical race theory at the K through 12 level. While all instructional activities and lessons are designed to be age appropriate for our students, we recognize there may be some conversation surrounding understanding what exactly that looks and sounds like in the classroom. This is where we would encourage and laud the practice of exercising free speech within the process of legislative representation. Just as we teach our students to stand up for what they believe is right, we would continue to encourage any community members with concerns to advocate for their children by contacting and petitioning local and state leaders that currently influence such impactful decisions. As has historically been the case, Homer 33C curriculum aligns to the Illinois State Learning Standards. While we do have the autonomy to exercise choice and flexibility in many academic decisions concerning the students within our care, we do not have the latitude to decide whether or not to adhere to laws and school code language that is passed down from state legislature or through the state school board.
As I understood, we have some visitors that would like to speak. Just a couple of reminders for public meeting audience rules. All cell phones should be silenced. Please refrain from talking or applauding during discussion throughout the meeting. If you'd like to address the board at the meeting, you may complete the citizen's comment form prior to the meeting. You will have 3 minutes to address the board. There will be no responses from the board at this time. First up to speak is Steve Balich. Yeah. Get the microphone over here if you'd like.
I was looking at that. I thought that was a microphone. My name is Steve Ballage, and a lot of people got my email because I'm the chair of Homer Republicans, and our group is fixated on fixing where we live, and the most important thing to us is our kids. And I know a lot of these people on the board, and they feel the same way. Now, the kids are the most important, and that's why we're here. And I got this book, and I looked at it, I put one picture up because I didn't want to copy the whole thing, but it's pretty horrible what's in this book, and that follows state standards. To me, it's like a pornography book. You know, and I think it's totally unacceptable for ages 10 and up. You know, with that said, we can't, as human beings, we got to protect our kids. Our most vulnerable people are our kids. So no matter what political party you are or who the hell you are, you got to make sure that you protect the kids. These guys all here feel the same way. So I've talked to most of them. I didn't talk to them all, but talked to most of them. And what I found out, and I verified it, you know, obviously, because I believe in Trump, and you know, you say something, I believe you, but I want to make sure, so I check it out. But here they're not doing the critical race theory, and they teach health instead of using the state standards. The state standards means you either use this stupid book or another stupid book that's the same thing. Pornography book for little kids. So, you know, after finding all that out, spent a lot of time this week, and Senator Kern sent me a bunch of bills, and the state, for some reason, thinks they can meddle with parents. It's a parent's right to say what our children learn, not the state of Illinois. The state of Illinois, look how they run the stupid state. I mean, it's like, forget about it. We got to do something about it as parents, as board members. We got to stand up for our children, because if we don't, nobody else will. And our kids, they don't know any better. So when they go to school, and not necessarily here, well, I know at the high school we might have a problem, from what I'm hearing. District 92, I don't know what's over there. We're going there also. We're going to go to all the different schools around here. And we're going to say no to this stuff. So with this here stuff, hearing what I found out, there's one thing that this board can do that's a little bit out of the box. They can make a resolution, not tonight because they have to put on an agenda, but they can make a resolution that they will not enforce any of these mandates that come down from the state. And these mandates, by the way, are unfunded mandates. That means that the state tells you to do it, and they don't give you the money to do it, and the superintendent pulls his hair out of his head. He'll go bald trying to figure out how to get money to pay for all this stuff. And that's wrong. It's real wrong. So if they would make a resolution saying that they will not enforce 818, and if the governor doesn't veto it, it becomes a law, just say no. And if they say they're going to cut the funding off, cut the funding off, because guess what? The kids are more important than the damn money. So we can't have it.
Don't be hostage. Don't hide behind the state.
Ask the board, again, to write a letter to the governor to veto 818. And that's the crummy bill that's in play right now, but there's other ones coming up. So if people stand up here, we can win and protect our children. And then the other thing I just want to tell you, we're working on the land thing. So I talked to Kevin DeShaft about it. The township is going to be donating some land to the school that they've been looking to use, and I just got to get some things done, and he's going to clear it up with my board. But anyway, thank you guys. God bless you.
Next up is Stephanie Kovacic, from a neighboring district.
Yes, I am. And today, I guess I'm going to be preaching to the choir. I'm so glad to hear, I'm so glad to hear that you trustees believe in having a heart for the children, and you see the problem with this curriculum. So it's not necessarily addressed to you, but if anyone else feels differently, it's addressed to them. And that is K-5 sex ed. Can you believe it? Kindergartners have you seen the manual or any part of it? Everybody should take a look. It's like porn magazine for children. You must know by now we have a huge problem in the United States of America with child pornography. Addiction and child pedophilia is rampant in our culture. So what is it? So what is it we are encouraging or supplying here? Agreeing to groom children, to supply the pedophiles with children to satisfy their heinous addiction? Public education acting under the guise of health class. Sex education will be supplying pedophiles with more children to abuse. Homer, school board trustees, and now that I know how you feel, do you consent to agree to sexualize our most innocent, precious children? Is that a real question? It's not about whether or not it's the law to follow. It's about whether or not you will stand up against the crime against our children and protect the most innocent.
Next up is Jay Jones, also from a neighboring district. Here's where you can tell me something.
I've gone from board meeting to board meeting, all to talk about injustice and the insanity of the Illinois vaccination and masking agenda. There's no justice or sanity to the policies this board and others are supporting because it's not about health, and the boards of education do not care more about our children than we do. Just one example of both the injustice and insanity of the Illinois vaccination and masking agenda is what happens at our nation's airports. We social distance. We compare masking styles. Double, single, under the nose, over the nose, what I call the beard. Then we pile onto planes, promptly forget the need for social distance, gather shoulder to shoulder, then engage in the convenient fantasy that viruses take a timeout when humans sit down, drink water, or eat peanuts. But in schools, we live by a different myth, that we mask our children because we care about health, about safety. I just want to tell you about a study in Florida where concerned parents submitted 6 face masks to a lab for analysis. And it masks were contaminated with bacteria, parasites, and fungi, including 3 with dangerous pathogenic and pneumonia-causing bacteria. I'm not going to go through all the names of these things, but I will say half of the masks were contaminated with 1 or more strains of pneumonia-causing bacteria. 1/3 were contaminated with 1 or more strains of meningitis-causing bacteria. 1/3 were contaminated with dangerous antibiotic-resistant bacterial pathogens. None found viruses of any kind, although the tests could pick up viruses. The truth is, there is an agenda to get our children vaccinated, to make our children so miserable that they will beg their parents to join the FDA clinical trial that is ongoing until 2023. Segregation, isolation, beating their fearful little souls into submission with policies that mark them as outsiders until they comply. Does anyone on this board care that the World Health Organization says, quote, children should not be vaccinated for the moment? I do. That's my job as a parent. You should reconsider your own compliance with many agendas, including vaccination, masking, but also pornographic sex ed and CRT course components of the school curriculum. Otherwise, we need to reconsider our representation on this board. I thank God for the opportunity to speak to you today. Thank you.
Okay, next up is Liz Lanius, also from a neighboring district.
Hi, my name is Liz Lanios, and I am a stay-at-home mom of 3 small children, soon to be 4 come August. My oldest will be entering kindergarten in the fall. I'm also a former public school teacher, where most of my years were spent in the kindergarten classroom. I know firsthand how much fun kindergarten can be, but now kindergarten isn't fun. Being a public school teacher, I always thought our children would go into public school. But now I'm struggling with making the choice of homeschooling my son in kindergarten while entertaining my other 3 small children, including a newborn, because I refuse to put my children in a mask. I'm sorry, I get out of breath. You can imagine without a mask, probably isn't like the mask on. So. Do you know what I can't stand here anymore? Our children are resilient. Do you know what the definition of resilience is? The ability to recover quickly from challenges. Do you honestly think our young children are capable of doing this without being taught or supported? They aren't. Let me give you some examples. Do you call a child who refuses to take their mask off when they go to bed because they are scared to die resilient? Do you call a child who is addicted to Snapchat, TikTok, and talking to God knows who, no longer has a desire to socialize in the real world, resilient? Or how about a special needs child that has been forced to wear and stare at masks, so ends up regressing on their IEP speech goals, resilient? And most devastating of all, what do you tell a parent whose child has committed suicide or died of a drug overdose since COVID? Resilient? I can stand here and present you with evidence, data, and real science to indicate that masks do more harm than good to our children, but I know you're aware, and there are many parents that will present to you with that today. I'm here today to ask that you stop playing politics and look and treat our children the way that children should be treated. Love, respect, and dignity. I dropped my son off at BBS in Frankfurt yesterday in a large room full of smiles. All beautiful young faces with smiles, no masks, inside, no temp checks, no saliva tests, and no social distancing. A place where my son could be a kid. How are we going to plan for a school year where our children have experienced fresh air, vitamin D, and no masks back to all these freedoms taken away next year? How do you do that? In closing, I want you to know that I pray for all of you. I know that you have the power to make good decisions. I pray that you put politics aside and you start standing up for it.
Next is Jill Johnson, also from a neighboring district.
I'm from here.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Sorry. A lot of people on the list. She's from here.
My name is Jill Johnson. I have one child starting at Hadley and 2 other former graduates. I'm here to talk about the current proposals regarding next year from ISB and IDPH regarding masks, vaccinations, and quarantines. Masks, they don't work. Many will often say on the side of the box that they are not meant to contain viruses. The health detriments of sitting in a bacteria-ridden mask all day, the nausea, the headaches, the fogged up glasses, the lack of concentration because of lack of oxygen is extremely concerning. If you really think about it, they're disgusting. Kids drop them on the ground, they touch everything, they put them back on their face, and they're breathing that all day. Yep. This brings me to the ridiculous quarantine rules. With all the students that ended up quarantined last year, how many turned out to have a positive test? I would say none. The high school superintendent said at their meeting last night that he believes there were no positive cases from quarantined students. Never in history have we quarantined healthy children. They also lose 2 weeks of their education for each instance. This year, ISB wants to offer no remote options to the kids that did not take the vaccine who had the option to. This is absolutely disgusting. And right here, you lose the argument that masks work. If they did, they would not have had to quarantine last year because they were masked up all day. Next, the vaccine. While most of the students in this district as of now are not eligible, some kids are. This is under emergency use and not expected to be fully approved until 2023. Just yesterday, WHO came out with guidance to not give it to kids 18 and under pending more research. Check their website. But ISB and IDPH want to single out students who refuse this so-called vaccine by testing them weekly and quarantining them when exposed, even though that those that take the vaccine can also test positive. I know 2 people that have tested positive in the past month that have been fully vaccinated. All this for a virus with a 99.98% survival rate for this age group. The mental toll this is taking on our kids is heartbreaking. A high school admin told my husband yesterday that kids don't mind masks because they are doing it for the greater good. Well, when everyone is telling them that they're going to kill their grandma and grandpa, what do you think they're going to say? My youngest used to love coming to school, and while she did enjoy being back more than being on Google Meets every day, that eventually was soured. Every day at recess, the kids were yelled at when they were outside if they got closer than 6 feet to their friends or they had their masks down. Yep. You want to play on the playground? Better mask up. Yep. Not very enjoyable. What do you think happens outside the classroom in school? These kids are maskless during their sports. Many of them travel out of state. They hang out, go to sleepovers, go to pool parties, go to ball games and stadiums, which are now full capacity with no masks. They are not resilient, and I worry about the mental aspect of this for years to come. So our kids will look to us and say, did our parents, teachers, and admin fight for us? And I hope we can say that we did. Wrapping up, I implore this administration to make the right decision and go fully mask optional without testing next year. All we are asking for is medical freedom and personal choice. These kids have suffered enough the last 15 months and carried a burden they were not meant to carry. Let's stop this now, unmask these kids, and stop with the medical tyranny.
Okay, next up is Brian Kramer from the Neighboring District.
Hello, my name is Brian. I come to speak today against CRT being taught. CRT is spitting on the grave of Martin Luther King Jr. and destroying what he taught on judging people on the content of a person's character and not the color of their skin. You are doing the same propaganda tactics as Hitler, Mao Zedong, Pol Pot, Stalin, Ho Chi Minh, Fidel Castro, the Klan, and ISIS. What tactics are those, you might ask? Attacking a group of people based on heritage, religion, and race. As a white American, my family never owned slaves. Most came here in the 1900s to the early 1900s to mid-1900s. My Italian family faced bigotry when they came here, but instead of being a victim, they persevered and became extremely successful. How is it not racist to tell Black and Hispanic Americans that because of their skin color, they can't be successful? I don't know, it sounds racist to me. What you're doing is nothing but socialist, communist, and fascist control tactics, and as having family fought against those evil ideologies, I will continue speaking. Children don't see race. They are innocent. Stop trying to corrupt and brainwash our kids. Let's judge people by actions, not actors.
Christina MC.
How do I follow all that? Hi, I'm Christina. I'm a mother. I'm a business owner. I'm devoted to the Constitution of the United States of America. I'm here today representing my 2 sons and hundreds of parents that share similar concerns. I'm here today also to discuss the concerns of mass sex ed, CRT, mandatory testing, mass segregation in the upcoming school year. What do all these things have in common? They're being implemented across the nation without the consent or even a conversation with parents. Masks. I've been told by 33C, you guys need to follow IDPH, Pritzker's unconstitutional mandates. 5 Illinois schools right now are going without masks next year. How is that possible? I've been told that's not possible. How about pulling all the family members, or all the families here? You guys need to stand up for what's right. And you guys know that's right. I hope you all feel that way. We all heard all the mask stuff that it's bad for kids and it's terrible for learning and everything. I'm not going to repeat it. Mass segregation, I have a problem with this. So if Pritzker and IDPH say unvaccinated kids need to wear masks, 33C is going to be okay with that. You guys are going to follow those rules, you're going to follow that mandate, even though the WHO just said they don't recommend young kids getting vaccinated. So what's next? Are we going to have separate water fountains, separate locker rooms? You guys are going to be okay with that? You're going to follow that because it's a mandate and you don't want the liability or whatever else. CRT and the new sex ed, SB 818. I talked to the administration. They assured me that it won't be taught in 33C. They said it would be they would teach age appropriate. What's age appropriate for one parent might not be age appropriate for another. So I would like to see what my kids are being taught. I've FOIA'd the curriculum, and all I keep hearing is Illinois state standards. That's what we follow. I want to see what my kids are going to be looking at. Also, parents, you can opt out. I have opt-out forms. Come see me after the meeting. You can opt out. They won't tell you that, though.
Too much work.
Mandatory testing of vaccines. This is something that, mandatory testing for COVID. This is something that's going to be brought up. What's happening to our kids' DNA? It's going to be a third-party company that's going to have their DNA, so how are they disposing of it? Where is it going? Again, you can opt out. Do not let your kids get tested. This isn't going to be a thing. You know, I don't trust certain teachers. I don't trust certain administrators. A couple years ago, there was a second pledge. Can I go? There was a second pledge. I just happened to be in school for a meeting for my son, me and my husband, and we stood up for the Pledge of Allegiance, sat back down. They said, no, there's a second pledge. Did any of you know there was a second pledge for 33C? No, I didn't either. And at the end of the pledge, it says, our kids are reciting daily that they're global citizens. They're not global citizens. We're United States citizens.
That's dividing everyone.
This school is responsible for teaching, reading, writing, and arithmetic. That is all. We didn't ask schools to be the moral, ethical teachers. That is our job. There should be one goal: teach our children. That's what schools exist for. Not indoctrination or political ideologies, not religion or sex. This is the United States of America. Men and women fought and died for our freedom. I will fight for these kids to breathe fresh air, not be indoctrinated or be sexualized by our woke civil servants.
Woo!
I defer my time.
I didn't know there was a second pledge.
I just want to, I'm taking his time. I just want to let everybody know that I'm a part of every unmasked group on Facebook. I'm part of a group that has over 7,000 people. I'm a part of another group that has 1,100 people. I just started a group, Illinois Patriots, that has 300 people within the last week. I am going to do whatever I possibly can, whatever is in my power to fight for your kids. Stand up and be leaders. You need to lead because your constituents, we're all watching. We're all watching you very, very closely. And you can do a poll and you can find out. I think you should find out who is against masks. I can't imagine who in their right mind would be for masks. But
They should have the choice.
children,
If they want to do it, send their kids.
this needs to be a choice.
Yes.
This isn't about our kids' health anymore, and you know it. It is everything about control. And I'm going to vow to do everything in my power to make sure this doesn't happen next year. I pulled my kids out of school last year because of masks, because of the remote learning, and most parents don't have that capability.
And critical race theory.
And critical race theory, all of it. It's not going to happen. We are losing our country, and it's happening in the schools. That is why it's happening. They're destroying our country, and you all see this. Nobody can say, this is good, we're good, we're living in a really good country here. Everything's just fine and dandy, because it's not, and you all know it's not. So do the right thing, be leaders, and stand up.
There you go.
Susan B.
My name is Susan Mason. I have 3 boys. My oldest is going in the 2nd grade. And I didn't have him at home for school last year. I decided to pull him out and I actually homeschooled him. Because I did not want him wearing a mask at school. And I will do that again if I have to, but I really hope you guys get rid of the mask mandate for the kids. So I just have something I just want to read real quick. It's just a piece of cloth. It doesn't bother them. They get used to it. They don't even know it's on. It's temporary. Sounds like a bunch of excuses to rationalize bad behavior if you ask me. I've listened to these excuses for well over a year now, and as to why we have forced our youth to sit for 6 to 10 hours a day in their own bodily excretions, and I'm quite frankly tired of it. You don't need to have a doctorate degree to know that while we inhale oxygen, we exhale carbon dioxide. A fact that I believe you learn in 5th grade science class. Our bodily waste is not meant to be trapped on a piece of cloth covering our faces. With each exhale, bacteria, mold, fungus, and even parasites have been found to have formed on face masks. There's no doubt that this is hazardous and inhumane to subject our children to continue to sit in their own filth day in and day out, as their immune system is essentially being compromised further with each breath. While this alone should be enough of a reason to lift the mandate, I will not stop there. The long-term psychological impact will sure be astounding. Every day that goes by that children are forced to wear a mask, more fear, depression, and anxiety are implemented in their delicate, developing psyches. Negative effects in the short term have already taken hold. In the past 15 months, there have been a 25 to 32% increase in mental health crisis situations resulting in ER interventions. I've also heard of anxiety medications being prescribed to children suffering in order to cope with the mask. In what backward society is considered okay? Did you know that children have a higher likelihood of dying from the flu than they have of COVID? Also, 3 times higher risk of dying in a car accident, 10 times higher risk from drowning, and a 20 times higher risk from homicide. And yet, we have forced them to mask even outside of recess, their one chance to get fresh air and exercise each day. This is criminal. It is time to stop using our children as pawn in a political game. Put your affiliations aside and come together and do what is best for our children. It is not just a piece of cloth, it's tyranny, it's oppression, and outright child abuse.
Jen Consolino?
I just want to give a big thank you to everybody that took the courage to come up and speak tonight. You did a great job, and it means a lot to a lot of people that don't have the time or don't have the courage to do so. I don't think it's on. That's okay. My name is Jennifer Consolino, and I am a trustee with the Village of Homer Glen. I've had residents contact me about their concerns regarding SB 818. As a resident and a mother with an 8-year-old child in Homer 33's district, I am appalled that it is zero transparency regarding this curriculum by our school board. I have seen the FOIA emails that have dismissed the parents who requested to see the actual material and textbooks for the sexual education curriculum, SB 818. I'm disappointed and I'm angry that myself and others had to go to the state politicians to actually obtain the documentation in question. And we can show it to anybody who'd like to see it. Why does this board not feel or think that they are accountable to the residents, the parents, and the taxpayers of Homer 33C? We pay anywhere from 70% to 74% of our actual property tax to the school districts. This board conveniently increased salaries and our taxes last year. They did this when our families were suffering from the effects of the pandemic and when our children could not adequately attend school and obtain the education that they deserve. Yet, this board focused on increasing our taxes. Plain and simple. I'd like to point out that 74% of my property tax of $9,000 is $6,600. It's very significant when you do the actual math. So this board is accountable to me and to every other taxpayer with questions on what exactly this curriculum is about. Sex education is not something our schools should be deciding for our children, just like politics and morals aren't. I and other parents will be demanding, as is our right, to see exactly what you will be teaching as far as sex ed, critical race theory, and the 1619 Project.
Yeah.
Every parent should have access to these materials. If this board truly supports these curriculums, then they should have zero issues with being transparent and providing them for everyone who asks. However, this does not appear to be the case. I'm fortunate to have seen them. My goal will be to share them with every parent and provide them with accurate information. It is your job as a school board to listen to your residents and to act on their behalf in the best interests of their children. Politics should never be taught in our schools, never. If you disagree openly, poll your residents. It's very easy to do. I'm requesting as a resident of Homer 33C that this school board pass a resolution stating that they will not enforce SB 818 curriculum mandate and that they will request a full veto from Governor Pritzker. You are elected officials. Listen to your residents and your voters. Do your job. Educate our innocent children, not influence them with politics.
Take that.
Next up is Julie Seisen from a neighboring district.
Sorry, I scribbled my name. I don't know what I was thinking. My name is Julie Sagan, I live in New Lenox. As we all know, the topics of the masks and vaccines have been very polarizing and divisive at the same time. You either feel really strongly one way or really strongly the other way. I'm curious as to why people that are wearing masks right now, if they wear them when they go to Target.
Nope.
Maybe you do. Everybody's got their reasons to wear
Home
the masks
Depot.
if they feel like they want to wear a mask. Go ahead. I might not agree with it, but, you know, I don't have to make your choices for you. And I don't think anyone else should make my choices for me or for my kids. The reasons to have students wear masks in school that we had 10 months ago, they don't apply now.
We know why.
If they wanted to, the teachers have been vaccinated. The kids 12 and up have been vaccinated if their families feel that's the best choice for them.
Absolutely.
They've been readily accessible to the elderly, the more vulnerable populations. So I wonder who we're protecting by pushing to have all these children vaccinated. And why we have to take it so far that I have to explain to my 15-year-old, I really don't want to get you vaccinated. I really don't want you to, oh, I'm not. I don't want you to wear a mask to school. What I want her to do is to go to school, refuse to wear a mask, and get sent home. And she said, Mom, how am I going to learn my algebra? She's 15, honor student. Mostly remote last year. They only taught her every other day, but insisted that they still got the full curriculum, going to school every other day and doing homework on their home days. Because that was the bare minimum the state required. And that was what the director of curriculum for 210 told me when I inquired last year. So I can't figure out why we're making the kids wear masks. I have a 13-year-old as well, not just a high schooler. Why would we make them wear masks? We're not wearing masks right now.
We have a cure.
COVID-19 does not ravage children. If they had been the spreaders, we would have had a huge outbreak in the children before we ever pulled them out of school in March of 2020. Because I know my kid had strep the week that the school was closed, and he's a huge germ spreader, but somehow he never got COVID. The rest of our household had COVID this last January, he never got it. He has no antibodies, he tested negative every time. Gets everything else. Despite wearing masks, countless children, despite wearing masks at school, they congregated outside of school maskless, mixing with each other, mixing with households, and we never saw, during the height of COVID infection, a huge population of children that were infected. Like, the numbers are so small, it's ridiculous. There's no data that reflects there was ever an outbreak like that. While I fully understand that this is being driven by our state government, the maxing mandates, they want to test at the schools, they want to quarantine my kid who doesn't have any symptoms or test positive because they were allegedly exposed. The vast majority of states are not requiring kids to be vaccinated or masks. Well, I'm just going to say, everybody else has had a lot to say that is very similar to me, and we no longer should be burdening children with this.
That's right.
This is not a child thing. This is not a child's problem. This is not their responsibility. And the boards can make choices. And I feel like we're all waiting for one board to make the first move in the area. This is ridiculous. Because where does it stop? Where does it stop? There you go.
My name is Mike Dean. I have great pride in this community. I have great pride in the United States. I can go back to my forefathers. They fought in the French and Indian War, the Revolutionary War. 1812. They actually fought in the Civil War where I had a couple of them die. That's not talked about anymore. I had them fight in the Korean War, the Cuban War. I had them fight in World War II where my dad had a Silver Star. I fought in Vietnam where I was drafted. To this day that I was drafted. Had no say in the matter. I went and my dad says, this is the United States of America. Fight against these communist people. Get them. We don't need it in this United States of America.
Yes, sir.
What did I do? I went there, I came back home, you know what happened happening to Vietnam vets. I don't have to explain it to you. What do you think's going on now? They're drafting our kids to wear masks. I'm listening up here. I got an 11-year-old grandson out there. 11-year-old grandson. They draft him. Whoever puts this on the board, you got to wear a mask. He has no say on it. Just like I had no say. Who is the woman that says you should have a choice?
All of us. All of us.
Give them a choice.
That's right.
Give the parents a choice. That's what America's about. That's what I fought for. I took great pride. I sit and I cry on my seat sometimes to see what America's going through right now. Why did they draft me to come back here, and now this communist country is turning communist on us? I have nothing against the black people, nothing against this. I have relatives, black, Hispanic, white. It doesn't make sense to me. This is a shame what's going on. My heart is empty. This country has drained me personally from my history, from my family's history. Sure, we make mistakes. Sure, there was problems in this country. But I saw a great strive. And then all of a sudden, it's like, what happened?
Yeah.
COVID.
I have, COVID, well, we all know where COVID came from.
Lab.
From China. I do not like China. And I can tell you about Pol Pot. How many teachers did Pol Pot kill? How many parents did Pol Pot kill? How many people over the age of 11 did Pol Pot kill? Over 1 million. It's not even taught in the schools. Not even taught in the schools. I am ashamed sometimes. I came back with pride and I got, well, I understand. I moved on with my life. Raised 2 beautiful kids. Got 5 grandkids. And I'm telling you right now, two of them went to Wilmington school out there, and they went every day. Some of them didn't even have to wear masks. They went in there, the person had, okay, we let them go. Now, what's the difference with Will County there or here? I have
No difference.
What is the difference? Here's another thing that I was really appalled about. I went to a bowling match with my grandson that's 11. They told him to sign his name. He didn't know how to sign. He says, you don't know how to sign your name, and his mother's a teacher. Yeah, no, we don't do that. What do you mean? Did they stop it in China? Did they stop it in Vietnam? Did they stop it in Cuba? Did they stop it in Venezuela? No, but we're stopping it here. Why?
Dumb them down.
It doesn't make sense to me.
Bomb them.
So we're going to teach them this other stuff?
Common Core.
All this 16, 17 stuff, and it's crazy. Teach them how to write. What did one lady set up here? Writing, arithmetic, math. Teach them the norms. We're not teaching them the norms anymore. The bottom line is respect. And that's the bottom line. You have to respect each other. But don't draft these kids. Please do not draft these kids and say they have to wear this mask without any of us having any opinion. It just feels like me being drafted again. You're drafting these kids and saying, ha ha, see the power we got? No, we got the power.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Jack Lombardi?
Do you still need me to film you, Jack? Do you need me to film you?
Hi everyone, my name is Jack Lombardi. I'm a U.S. congressional candidate, so I'm going to start off by saying thank you, sir. Thank you. It is, absolutely. But I'm not here as a candidate, I'm not campaigning, I'm here as a father, okay? So here's what we dealt with in the Lombardi household this year, right? So my son is a 99 percentile kid. He scores great. I had to drag him across the line to get him to pass, right? That's the kind of impact it's had on my son, who's brilliant, really smart. In the math, in the skip learning, now I understand it's not your fault. And I honestly pray for each and every one of you. God bless you, because this is tough. Because I stepped in the political world, I understand that you're getting a dose of it too. I get it, right? This is tough. And I know many of you don't want to sit up there with a mask on right now. You can have better things to do than wearing a mask. Now, a few things I wanted to talk about. And thank you, parents. Thank you for getting involved. I've been waiting for somebody, for people to start, come on, I mean, we're all seeing that something's not right here. Something's wrong, right? And I have a lot of faith in the American people and the American spirit to fight back. Because let me tell you what, here, I'm going to go off script. Let me tell you what, my wife is Korean. My uncle-in-law has a bakery in China. He's memorized the Bible and he smuggles in the food that he doesn't sell this bakery into North Korea. I can tell you about stories about North Korea that you wouldn't even believe me. It's awful, and that's what communism is. Now, it is showing its face in America right now on U.S. soil.
Yes.
And they are going after our children. Now let me tell you what, with these masks, like good little Chinese kids, good little workers, so they want everyone to be a good citizen there. They want to have a social scoring system that they are implementing there, okay? So that's starting to show up here. My question to you is, what are we going to do about it? Are we going to let it happen? Are we going to stand by idle and wait for someone else to take the lead? Or is each and every one of us going to take the lead? I stepped up because I'm a father. And I'm willing to take on the hacks that you see in D.C. for your children, for my children, because I've had enough, because I'm a pissed off father. No one messes with my kids. Now I have my little Summer, 14 months old. And let me tell you about the vaccines. My daughter, it took my wife, and I have permission to talk about this, 6 years to have our daughter. My poor wife had to get shots for 6 years to have our daughter. We would be at a party, we would be at a concert, we would be at wherever. On planes this even happened, and we had to go in the bathroom so I give her shots so we can have our daughter. Now, these masks, we all know, are going to push parents into getting their children vaccinated. We know that's the end goal here. So where's the guarantee that my children are not going to have to go through what me and my wife had to go through? So no, we don't want the masks because we know they don't work. No, we don't want the vaccines because our children are too young. They're not the super spreaders. I don't have to tell you the facts. You've heard them out here all tonight. I'm asking you, and this is what I'll close with, I'm asking each and every one of you to make a very brave decision. Be courageous. Stand up to it. If they say they're going to cut the funding, you have Illinois, almost all the parents behind you. You really do. And this is happening in every school district. You have the parents behind you, and I know it's easier said than done. But you have to put your foot down. I know each and every one of you are here because you love the children. I believe that 1,000%. Now it's time to put into action. Right? Anyone can do it when it's easy. Now it's hard. And
there you go.
You're here to represent everybody here and all of our kids. I know it's tough. And again, I pray for you and God bless each and every one of you. It's got to be tough sitting up there. I get it. But please, be brave. Stand up to Pittsburgh and D.C. and what's going on here. You have eyeballs. You see what's going on too. Thank you. God bless everybody.
So I have a list here of about 20 different studies from last year all the way up to, let's see, April of this year. And I know you probably did a lot of studying on this. There's a lot of information on there. I don't have enough time to go through all the studies and what they said, but you know the basic facts. So starting in January 1 of last year, there was a study. Bravian reported this study. Masks not found to be effective against COVID. January 1. Okay, March 1, 2020. Sacramento Bee reports another study. Masks not effective. March 31. Surgeon General of the United States of America says the data does not support mask wearing. okay? And we all know what happened when Fauci said, hey, you don't have to wear a mask, it might stop a spill or something, but it's gonna be a you know, you're gonna think that you're safe, but you're not safe, and then he changed his mind. So last March, we sent our kids home. Okay? They never went back. They went back this year, kinda, but I have 2 kids that lost a year and a half. So my youngest kid, 8 years old, didn't go back to school because he's got an allergy problem, plus he had an ear operation. He wasn't going to sit there with his mask on. And he was 7 years old. He's not going to sit there at 7 years old for 6 hours a day with his mask on. So I actually think he's better now for it because he's like really smart now.
He always was.
That's what I realized.
You know, so, and it just goes on and on. April 7th, Business Insider reported another study. April 8th, another one. May 6th, 2020. May 21, 2020, the New England Journal of Medicine reported studies done on masks does not find that it has any effect against COVID. Okay, so we've known this. We've known this for over a year. Okay, what happened? Okay, let me see here. So little to no protection, then we got June, then we got August. What happened in July? Does anybody remember what happened in July? They had a study, a Dutch study, an Irish study. Ireland did a study. They did contact tracing with schools that were in-person learning. They found zero infection between student to student, student to teacher, teacher to student, zero. And to my knowledge, to this day, I don't think there's any studies, contact tracing, anywhere in the world where a kid has been infected by a teacher or a teacher by a kid. Zero. Okay, and we're going to send them back 2021, 22 with masks on?
No.
So all this information comes out. This doesn't work. August 6/20, Foundation of Economic Education. Ontario Institute, Canada did a study. That was August. Let's go down to September, November, December 2020. Tennessee, Montana studies. Tennessee and Montana did a study. Masks don't work. There's no transmission between students. Okay? So this information's been out there. And we've been seeing it. They've been seeing it. You guys have seen it. And you know what? It's our business as parents to protect our kids.
That's right.
And this is us standing together, because we must stand together, to protect our kids. It's their business to educate our kids, not indoctrinate. Education, not indoctrination.
Yes.
I had a couple other things here, but let me just end with this. The vaccines, you know, I teach my kids, if you get cut, you need Bactine and a Band-Aid, you don't need an aspirin. If you have a headache, you need an aspirin, you don't need a Demerol, right?
Right.
So if you don't get COVID, if you're unlikely to get COVID, and you're unlikely to get it, and you're unlikely to spread it, you don't need a drug in your body for something you don't need. Right? Am I right? I mean, Oxycontin and all that stuff. I mean, we're supposed to be teaching our kids not to take unnecessary medicine.
Big pharma.
Right? So don't be pressured into getting the vaccine if you don't want it. That's your choice, right?
Yeah.
And then,
Absolutely.
that's all I got.
Michelle Lee.
Hello, my name is Michelle Lee. I am also a board member of Joliet Junior College. So I understand your position. I understand that you're unpaid. I understand that you're sitting before us with 4 or 5 hour meetings possibly. I don't know what you go through, but I know what I go through. And I'm sure that this does not make your lives any simpler, okay? Let's put that out there. And it makes your meetings a lot longer, right? I could sit here and I could talk to you about how Germany filed a lawsuit against the CDC, Davos Group, and WHO for war crimes against humanity, because this is not just America that wants to know what was going on with this China virus, but every single nation in this world was affected by COVID, and they want answers.
and they will get answers. I don't know if you're familiar with the Nuremberg Code, but there were plenty of people that were tried and hung, including the media, who did not stand up for what was right. And I would hate to see in FOIA requests like Dr. Fauci, that he knew the entire time. Okay, and if Biden doesn't want to hold him accountable and say that he's not going to fire him, what do you think Germany is going to do to the Biden administration? This is not just America, and eventually this will come out. And eventually we will all be held accountable for our for what we are doing to these children. And I just want to know what side of history you will be on when that is all said and done. I'm going to touch on a few more things, and I'm not going to try to take up too much of your time, but there's a lot going on, and I really need you guys to understand, because there's a lot that I see coming through the pipeline that you guys may not understand or know. On a parental note, my son did not know any teacher. He couldn't tell me what class he was in, and he barely knew what he was learning this year. He is 11 years old. 11 years old. If somebody would have touched him inappropriately or a kid would have beat him up, he wouldn't even have known who it was. This, and I know, if I had to take training to be a board member, I'm sure you did too, all of these policies, I don't care if it's the segregating of the kids, I don't care if it's the mask mandates, I don't care if it's the quarantining them at home, it's creating a hostile learning environment for our children. And I would also like to speak on Senate Bill 818, because if you think that what's coming down through this pipeline isn't about over-sexualizing our kids so that they are okay with being touched and confused about who is able to touch them, and then you're masking them. And if we're not going to stand up for our children and let them breathe freely and let them be able to speak freely, then what do you think? You think they're going to come to us and tell us that somebody's touching them and hurting them? No, they're not. And I refuse to allow Washington to put this through, or Springfield to put these through, these horrendous bills through. And I will stand up and fight. I'm not from this community. JJC is out of this district. I am a concerned parent, and I will continue to drive 30 minutes, an hour away to every single board meeting that I see to empower you. And I guarantee, I ran my election with no money. I accepted no funds, no campaign funds, and I won 22,800 votes. Do you think that these people don't see me and that I'm willing to stand up for your kids? Do you think they're not going to vote people like me and Jack Lombardi in and vote you out if you don't start standing up for our kids? America is done. And I want to say this about CRT. My daughter is mixed. You know what she said to me, Mommy? Mommy, am I being oppressed by black people? Am I oppressing black people because I'm half white? Or am I being oppressed because I'm half black? This is completely unacceptable. It is damaging to our kids on every single level. And I am done, and every other parent is done. And I'm going to guarantee you, you're going to get some parents that are going to run for office and that are going to change things. We do not want communism in America. No. We are not okay with this. We were asleep and we weren't paying attention to what was going on in our schools. But I can guarantee you we will not back down. And I can guarantee you we're going to be at every single one of these board meetings. And maybe all of us can't make it, but there will be parents there standing up for us. Yeah.
That is the end of the list. Thank you, everybody, for coming out to comment.
I just want the board to be aware
So everybody's welcome to stay for the remainder of the meeting, too.
on section 4, employment recommendations, 4A1. Please remove that from the agenda. Consent. And then I will present my own behalf this evening. Financial performance summary In May, the district expended $4.3 million and received $2.2 million, resulting in a decrease to our fund balance of $1 million.
Could you speak up?
We started the month with $25.7 million and ended the month with $23.6 million. Any questions on